In engineering physics, we are discussing lasers. In this session, we shall try to understand the construction and working of some of the lasers. In them, one is helium neon laser. Helium neon is a gas laser. It is a continuous four-level gas laser. So, if you see the constructive part shown here schematically, basically, it consists of a long, narrow cylindrical tube made up of fused quartz. The diameter of the tube will vary from 2 to 8 millimeters and the length will vary from 10 to 100 centimeters. So, flat quartz plates are sealed at the ends of the tube. That means the plates are sealed at a Brewster angle with the axis of the tube to obtain polarized light. So, the plates are called Brewster windows. The tube is filled with helium and neon gas in the ratio of 10:1. The partial pressure of the helium gas is 1 millimeter of mercury and the neon gas is 0.1 millimeters of mercury. So that the pressure of the mixture of the gases inside the tube is nearly 1 millimeters of mercury. The laser action is due to the neon atoms. Helium is used for selective pumping of neon atoms to upper energy levels. Two electrodes are fixed near the ends of the tube to pass the electric discharge through the gas. So, two optically plane mirrors are fixed at the two ends of the tube normal to the axis. One of the mirror is fully silvered so that nearly 100% reflection takes place, and the other is partially silvered so that 1% of the light incident on it will be transmitted. Optical resonance column is formed between these mirrors. Now, when you talk about its working environment, when a voltage of about 1000 volts is applied between the electrodes, then electrical discharge takes place through the gas tube, through the gas in the tube. So, the free electrons accelerate towards the positive electrode. So, in that journey, some of these electrons collide with the majority helium gas atoms in the tube. So, therefore, when a fast moving electron collides with the ground state helium atom, then the helium atoms are pumped up. Let us see how. So, that means when a fast moving electron is colliding with the ground state helium atom, the helium atoms are pumped to two metastable states. So, this is a metastable state and this is another metastable state. Those levels are named as 21s is a metastable state, 23s is also yet another metastable state of helium. So, in the metastable state, the atoms remain relatively long time because of the lifetime. So, more number of atoms will be present, helium atoms will be present in the metastable state than the ground state. That leads to increase of population in each of these metastable states. So, here as well as here, population inversion can happen in the case of this particular laser. So, inside the helium atoms present in the metastable states, there may be some collisions with the neon atoms present in the ground state and excite them to the 2s and 3s levels, to the next higher levels. So, during collisions, the metastable helium atoms transfer their energy to the ground state neon atoms and the helium atoms come back to the ground state. That means during collision, resonance transfer of energy from helium to neon takes place because this 21s and 23s energy levels of helium atoms are very close to with 3s and 2s energy levels of neon. Thus, the population inversion in neon atom takes place. So the excited neon atoms transit to ground state in three different ways, leading to three layers of different wavelengths. First one is transition from 3s level to 3p level. 3s level to 3p level. This is 3s and this is 3p. 3s level to 2p level gives rise to visible radiation. That is in the infrared region. Second type of transmission is from 3s level to 2p level, giving rise to visible radiation of around 1.15 micrometers. This is in infrared region. So three different transmissions. One is giving rise to a wavelength of 3.39, which is infrared. Another is from 3s to 2p level, giving rise to a radiation of 6328, that is red region. And the third transition is from 2s level to 2p, giving rise to a wavelength of 1.15 micrometers. Again, it lies in the infrared region. So the atoms in the 3p and 2p level undergo spontaneous transition to 1s level. This is a metastable state. That is what we need to understand. 3s and 2s levels are not metastable states. The photons emitted by the atoms coming down from 3p or 2p level to 1s are likely to excite the 1s atoms back to 3p or 2p levels. So this affects the population inversion on 3s and 2s levels. The atoms in 1s level return back to the ground level mainly by collisions with the walls of the discharge tube. This effect makes the gain of helium neon laser to be inversely proportional to the diameter of the discharge tube. So the discharge tubes are made of only a few millimeters of diameter. So the mirrors placed outside the tube produces optical pumping in the resonance column inside the tube. That will enhance the stimulated emission. So therefore red laser light comes out of the partially silvered mirror. There are few advantages in this process of helium neon laser. Because the excitations and de-excitations of helium and neon atoms is a continuous process, and therefore it gives continuous emission of laser radiation. Being a gas laser, it emits more monochromatic and directional radiations when compared to solid state lasers. And this laser, as I told you, it's a continuous emission of radiation. And because of the setting of end windows, what we are calling as Brewster windows, the windows are set at a Brewster angle. That means the output laser is linearly polarized. This is what we need to know about helium neon laser. Let us see yet another laser. So we will try to understand the working and construction and working of yet another laser, namely semiconductor laser. Now it is a diode laser. It is also called semiconductor laser, is also called diode laser. It was invented in the year 1961. So the transitions in semiconductor lasers are associated with the energy states in the valence band and conduction bands. So these a basic advantage of this type of semiconductor lasers over other gas lasers, if you compare, these semiconducting lasers are very small in size. For example, if you take gaseous laser, only 1% working substance is active, whereas in diode lasers, whole of the active medium is active. So that will naturally increase the efficiency, therefore the efficiency becomes very high. Moreover, these diode lasers require very low operating power. So generally we use, if you see the basic construction, we use gallium arsenide PN junction diode, where the P region is heavily doped with zinc into N-type gallium arsenide, approximately 10 power 24 atoms per cubic meter. So one of the pairs of the faces perpendicular to the junction is cleaned and polished so that it will act as a reflecting mirror. The other two faces are roughened to eliminate the lacing in these directions. Let us see the schematic approach for this. So this is the basic structure of gallium arsenide PN junction diode. P region is heavily doped, as I told you, which is produced by diffusing zinc into N-type gallium arsenide. That is what I told you as 10 power 24 atoms per cubic meter. One pair of the face, one of the pairs of the faces perpendicular to the junction plane is cleared and polished so that act as a reflecting mirror. The other two faces, they are roughened to eliminate lasing in those directions. So you can have coherent radiation on either side. Now let us see how it works. Now in N-type semiconductor, it's a PN junction. Therefore, in N-type semiconductor, electrons are donated by the impurities to fill the conduction band up to the Fermi level, which falls below the conduction band. Whereas if you take P-type semiconductor, holes are added by the acceptors down to a Fermi level energy, which falls above the valence band. So in the absence of an external biased voltage, a potential barrier is built up. But when the external voltage is applied, that is what we call as forward biasing, the electrons flow to P side and holes will flow to N side. And because the applied voltage is increased, diode current is also gradually increased, and you will reach a point where significant population inversion exists. So therefore, based on that, the stimulated emission occurs at some frequencies which corresponds to normal modes of the cavity, whose wavelength can be calculated using the formula lambda is equal to 2L by N, where L is the length of the cavity, N is equal to 1, 2, 3. So above the threshold current, the diode emits stimulated radiation with a narrow spectral emission. So in that case, the band structure looks like this. I am just recapping. In N-type semiconductor, electrons are donated by impurities to fill the conduction band up to the Fermi level. In that case, the Fermi level falls below the conduction band. In P-type semiconductor, holes are added by the acceptors down to the Fermi energy level. In this case, the Fermi level lies above the valence band. So when there is no external biased voltage, a potential barrier is built up. But when the external voltage is applied, what we call as forward bias, the electrons flow to P side and holes will flow to N side. And because the applied voltage is increasing, diode current is gradually increased and increases to such a saturation point where you can find significant population inversion. So the stimulated emission occurs at frequencies corresponding to normal modes of cavity, whose wavelength can be calculated using this formula. And the band diagrams will be like this at 0K. So above the threshold current, diode starts emitting stimulated radiation with a narrow spectral emission. This is how semiconductor laser works. This is called semiconductor laser or semiconductor diode laser or simply diode laser. So let us understand the construction and working of yet another interesting laser known as Nd:YAG laser. Nd:YAG is an acronym. This is a 4-level solid state laser. Nd:YAG stands for neodymium doped yttrium aluminum garnet. Neodymium doped yttrium aluminum garnet. So its chemical formula has been given NdY3Al5O12. It's a compound. This is used as the lasing medium for some solid state lasers. A rare earth element, neodymium, which is the active center, is mixed with yttrium aluminum garnet, that is Y3Al5O12, which act as the active medium. The triply ionized neodymium ions, that is Nd3 plus, selectively dope during the growth of the Ag crystal. You can replace another element roughly the same size, typically yttrium ions, Y3 plus ions, thereby creating an NdAg crystal. Generally, the crystalline host is doped with around 1% neodymium by weight. Apart from this, there are other common host materials for neodymium are something called YLF, yttrium lithium fluoride, 1047 and 1053 nanometers. YV4, another one, yttrium vandate, 1064 nanometers, and even glass. Host materials is chosen in order to obtain a desired combination of optical, mechanical, and thermal properties. NdAg glasses and their variants are pumped by flash lamps for continuous gas discharge lamps or near infrared laser diodes. They are called DPSS lasers. Now here one more point you have to understand which is not part of your syllabus. Like suppose if you see neodymium, the amount of the neodymium dopant in the material varies between 0.5 and 1.5 molar. Higher dopant concentration is used for pulsed lasers and lower concentration is suitable for continuous wave lasers. NdAg is a pinkish purple in color, lightly white doped rods which are less intensely colored, almost whiter than heavier doped ones. Now how pumping takes place here? Pumping can take place here very interestingly. We know that NdAg laser being a solid state laser, pumping could be done only by optical means. So this NdAg absorbs mostly in the bands between 730 to 760 nanometers, 790 to 820 nanometers. So krypton flash lamps with high output at these bands are therefore more efficient for pumping than neon lamps. Neon lamps only produce white light resulting in the loss of energy. So the output from a krypton flash lamp pumped laser is mostly pulsed. To get a continuous output, a quartz halogen lamp is used. So NdAg lasers typically emit light of wavelength 1064 nanometers in the infrared region. However, there are also transitions near certain nanometers like 940 nanometers, 1120 nanometers, 1320 nanometers, 1440 nanometers. At such levels, wavelengths are emitted. Let us see the constructive part of it. Something like this. It is typical to ruby laser as far as construction is concerned. Now one more thing we need to understand. NdAg being a pulsed laser, it is typically operated in so-called Q-switching mode. It's an optical switch that is inserted in the laser cavity waiting for a maximum population inversion in the neodymium ions before it opens. Then the light wave can run through the cavity, depopulating it, the excited laser medium, at maximum population inversion. So in this Q-switched mode, output powers of approximately 20 megawatts and pulse duration of less than 10 nanoseconds are achieved. Let us come back to the constructive part of it. So this construction looks very similar to that is in ruby laser. So the NdAg laser crystal is conveniently cut in the form of a cylindrical rod, desired length of 5 to 10 centimeters and a diameter of 6 to 9 centimeters. Unlike a ruby laser, because in ruby laser when we are using xenon flash lamp which was coiled around the ruby rod, here in NdAg log it is placed inside at one of the foci of an elliptical reflector cavity. This is an elliptical reflector cavity. At the other end of the focus, Krypton flash tube, which is connected in the power supply via a capacitor connected in parallel, and a resistor is connected in series, is placed. Why we are doing like this is, the reason for this arrangement is very simple. It is to maximize the pumping power. That's why we connect like this. Almost all the power emitted by the flash lamp kept the one focus reaches the rod at the other focus. Almost all the power emitted by the flash lamp kept at one focus, it will reach the rod which is kept at the other focus. So in this way, maximum pumping takes place, and therefore a large population of inversion can be achieved. This will result in an intense laser beam coming out. Let us see the working of that. When you look at the working of a laser, the energy levels can help us to understand. The laser action is achieved by means of optical pumping utilizing a flash lamp. You can use a krypton flash lamp at high pressure, or sometimes you can use even xenon flash lamp at moderate pressure. Only a small fraction of the energy given out by the flash lamp is used for excitation, and the rest merely heats up the apparatus. So therefore you require a separate cooling mechanism to cool the laser apparatus always. So the neodymium ions absorb the radiation at around 730 nanometers. You can see at E1 level here. At 730 nanometers, and even at E2 at 800 nanometers, and go to the respective excited states. From these excited absorption levels, the atoms decay by means of rapid non-radioactive transitions to the metastable levels E4, where they populate and achieve population inversion. Once this condition is achieved, the photons are emitted following the stimulated emission. So the emitted photons are allowed to pass back and forth upwards for million number of times through a set of optical resonators, where their number builds up and the amplitude increases. Finally, a laser output at 1064 nanometers is obtained, corresponding to the transition between E4 and E1. So the advantages of this is, it is a highly powerful output, and the repetition rate is too high. It is much easier to achieve population inversion in Nd:YAG laser. Because it is a crystalline material, the line width is very small, and therefore it has lower thresholds. It can be used in lasers utilizing frequencies doubling and frequencies tripling, even high energy Q switching also it can be used. Its thermal conductivity is better, and its fluorescence lifetime is about almost twice as that of another one, NdYVV4. That is what we need to know about this. My NdYVV4, I told you, yttrium vandate, neodymium yttrium vandate. It can be operated on power levels of up to kilowatts. It can be directly Q switched with chromium 4 plus YAG. Nd:YAG lasers are almost 1064 nanometers, and its best absorption band for pumping is 1 nanometer wide and are located at 807.5 nanometers. But the only disadvantage in this is its electronic energy level structure is very complicated. Okay, let us look at some of the applications of lasers, which are already mentioned some time back, but now we shall focus on applications of entire laser system. Lasers find applications in various fields of science and technology. For example, if you take communications, lasers are used in optical fiber communications. In optical fiber communications, lasers are used as a light source to transmit audio, video signals and even data to very long distances without attenuation and distortion. So the narrow and angular speed of laser beam recommends that laser beam can be used for communication between Earth and Moon and even to other satellites also. Because laser radiation is not absorbed by water, So laser beam can be used in underwater, that is inside the sea communication networks also. Similarly, when you look at industrial environment, laser applications are there. Lasers are used in metal cutting, welding, surface treatment, and even hole drilling. For example, when a laser beam is focused on a very small area, then the laser light energy is converted into heat energy so that the material may be heated, melted, and evaporated. Using these techniques, holes can be drilled in steel, ceramics, diamond, and alloys. Using lasers, controlled orifices and aerosol nozzles are drilled with controlled precision. Holes of micron order can easily be drilled with the use of lasers. These techniques are used in cutting materials such as metal sheets and cloths. In mass production of stitched clothes, the cutting in the desired dimension is done by stockpiling a large number of cloth materials and cutting them all at once by exposing to the laser beam. So using lasers, cutting can be obtained to any desired shape and the cut surface is very smooth. Similarly, welding, if you see, welding has been carried by using laser beam. A laser beam is exposed to the place where welding has to be done. At that place, the material melts due to the heat produced by the beam, and on cooling, the material makes it a stronger joint. For example, dissimilar metals can be welded and micro welding is done with greater ease using lasers. Laser beams are also used in selective heat treatment for tempering the desired parts in the automobile industry. Lasers are widely used in an electronic industry, for example, in trimming the components of integrated circuits. Now, when it comes to medical field, many number of applications are there as far as lasers are concerned. Lasers are used in eye surgery, especially in the detached retina. Under certain abnormal conditions, the retina may get detached from the choroid. This results in blindness at the detached part of the retina. The retina can be attached to the choroid by heating it over a number of spots almost of the size of tissues. The heating can be achieved by focusing a laser beam of predetermined intensity onto the retina. The laser beam reaches the right spot where the welding of the retina to the choroid occurs. So the flash of laser beam lost in a very short time, 1 millisecond. So therefore the patient does not feel any pain. So anesthesia is not required. Similarly, lasers are used for the treatment like plastic surgery, skin injuries, and even to remove moles and tumors developed in skin tissue. Lasers are used in something called stomatology, that is, the study of mouth and its disease, where the laser beam is used for selective destroying the part of the tooth affected by caries. Mouth ulcers can be cured by exposing it to laser beam. So laser radiation is sent through optical fiber to open the blocked artery region. Here the laser rays burn the excess growth in the blocked region and regulates the blood flow without any requirement for bypass surgery. That is a crucial thing to be understood. Lasers are used to destroy kidney stones and gallstones. Laser pulses are sent through the optical fibers to the stoned region. The laser pulses break the stones into small pieces. And lasers are used nowadays in cancer diagnosis and even therapy also. Lasers are used in bloodless surgery, what we call. During the operation, the cut blood veins are fused at their tips by exposing to infrared laser light so that there is no blood loss. Now let us see some more applications. Like lasers are used in controlling hemorrhage. Using argon and carbon dioxide lasers, liver and lung treatment can be carried out. Lasers are used in endoscopy to detect the hidden parts. Laser developer velocimetry is used in measuring blood velocity in the blood vessels. And there are certain military applications such as death rays. by focusing high energetic laser beam for few seconds to an aircraft or missile, it can be destroyed. So therefore they are called death rays or war weapons. Even laser guns can be used as a vital part of enemy body. It can be operated at short range by focusing a highly convergent laser beam from a laser gun. Something called LiDAR, light detecting and ranging, in place of radar. It can be used to estimate the size and shape of a distant object or used as a war weapon. Even in computers, you can use it for storage in terms of CD-ROM. In thermonuclear fission, to initiate the reaction, very high temperature and pressure is required. This can be achieved through laser. And even in scientific applications, if you take laser beam can initiate and fasten chemical reaction. Lasers can be used in counting the atoms in an isotope separation. Lasers are used to estimate the size and shape of biological cells, like erythrocytes. Lasers can be used in air pollution to find the size of the dust particles. Lasers can be used in holography, that is nothing but recording and reconstruction of holograms. Three-dimensional images of objects can be recorded. To measure the constantly changing distance between moon and the earth by the astronomers, lasers can be used. Lasers are used in plastic industries for polymers which are obtained by irradiating the monometers. Using lasers, stimulated Raman spectrum is obtained for small biological samples. Lasers are also used to develop hidden fingerprints and to clean delicate pieces of art. So these are all various applications of lasers in day-to-day life in various industries like scientific research, medical applications, automotive industry, normal industry, in communication, whatnot. Everywhere you can use it. That's how you need to understand the applications of laser. So in this session, as a summary, we looked at helium neon as well as ND-AG laser, their construction and working, and various applications of laser communications. This completes the laser concept.